tell us how you ended up with the Wallabies?
Yeah, it was Wednesday a couple of weeks ago. Eddie gave me a heads up that one of the coaches wasn't well, and then then he said, I'll let you know if anything changes. And then Wednesday a couple of weeks ago, that afternoon, he contacted me, and then on Sunday, I was nearly going to come Saturday, but then Sunday I was on a plane over here, so it was really quick. But it was a great opportunity, and I'm just glad I did it. Actually, it's been a great bunch of blokes, and they're all looking to get better and chasing that World Cup. So it's a great opportunity to be a part of that.
And how did it actually work in terms of with rugby playing at the team at the moment, and that off and then you transitioning?
No. So I got moved from the Roosters mid-year. So there's a bit of stuff happening there, and then so I was actually I'm off to the Storm in November to start work again there, and so it was just perfect timing, really. So I was actually renovating my house. I was actually painting my house, so doing real work. And then, got the phone call, and no better way to spend the last 2 months of my little break than with these guys in France, chasing a World Cup.
And of course, you'd worked with him before.
Yep.
How many months was it actually, and were there games over there you coached? Just the trainings?
Yep, so I spent 3 years going over there for 2 and 3 week blocks, and then built the relationship that way. And then I officially started working for England a couple of years ago, and it was the height of COVID. So I went over there, did an autumn series, and then came back to get my family, and then went to get back over, and that was when everything was just at its absolute most uncertain. And then, so then we decided to... I decided to not go back because a decision had to be made with my family. So, but if it hadn't have been for COVID, I'd be, with the England team now, or with Eddie here now, hopefully. So that's how it sort of all worked out. So it was quite bizarre at the time, but funny how things work out.
And did you, throughout that period, obviously we've been immersed in rugby, but since then have you kind of kept watching rugby, and now that you're experiencing a bit of World Cup fever, the start in France, it's pretty well wind. Yeah,
so I still followed the England team, and then obviously just the Wallabies are part of Australia, so I followed them anyway. So, and I watched all their games in the lead up, but not as closely as I did once I knew that I was coming over. So, so certainly still followed rugby, but whilst being immersed back in rugby league.
How do you look to add value when you've sort of got such a limited time to really sort of know what the guys are like, know what you're trying to sort of implement here?
Yep, so the attack's implemented, and I'm assisting Eddie with the attack, so he takes the lead, and then I basically do a lot of the legwork for him, and so it's about as simple as that. So the system's in place, and now it's just about refining and evolving and making sure that we're improving every session. So, but like I said, Eddie takes the lead, and then I just help out as much as I can in and around that. That'd be fair to say, wouldn't it, Dave?
Mm. Is that somewhat foreign space for you? Were you previously defence under Eddie at England?
Nah, so I sat with the attack with Eddie in England as well, but then in league I done mainly defence. Sorry. So at the end of the day, it's coaching, and with whichever side of the ball you're on, we're familiar with both sides. Obviously some guys are better at one side than the other and more comfortable, but at the end of the day it's coaching, and that's how I've approached it. And with someone of Eddie's experience leading the way, it's there's a pretty clear direction. The players are really clear on what is expected of them, and we've just been working really hard together. And the biggest thing for me early doors has just been building the relationships with the guys, and that's the biggest thing for me, so that we can get to know each other, and then also that little bit of trust, and then also go a bit deeper with the rugby and work on their little bits of their game, which then add to the big picture.
Broadly speaking, how do you think the attack is faring? Obviously, the France games are only first real hit out of the team, but broadly.
Broadly, I definitely think it's improving. It's heading in the right direction, and it's a Wallaby style. So what I've picked up really quickly is that it's less structured. It's more about playing to the players' strengths, and then building the game plan in and around that. So it's our way of playing to our strengths, and then but broadly, how's it going? I think it's heading in the right direction. Yeah, definitely. So it was 4 tries to 3 on the weekend, and we probably could have had another 1 or 2 tries on the back of that as well, had the bounce of the ball gone our way. So yeah, definitely heading in the right direction.
Tony Latuber after the game spoke about maybe having a few things up your sleeve, pulling a rabbit out of a hat for this game. Is that the case, that maybe what we saw against France might not equal Georgia this week?
As far as a rabbit out of the hat, there won't be too much of that, because at the end of the day, we'll play to our strengths, and then whatever the opposition that we play against, then we'll tailor little parts of that to try and expose that as best we can, so we can attack their strengths. So yeah, so as far as rabbit out of a hat, yeah, there possibly might be 1 or 2 little plays that we'll experiment with, but it's at the end of the day, we just want to keep building on what we've started in regards to playing to our strengths and sticking to that system that Eddie and the coaches have implemented already.
And you've dealt with some wonderful athletes in league. Got a guy like Mark Nalonganituasa, who's very good in the air. Sully scored a try off that the other day. What's your philosophy around kicking to those guys in the air, and do you see that as an advantage or something that the Wallabies could try and tap into too?
Yeah. You haven't bugged our meetings, have you? Yeah, no, certainly it's there to see. So it's that's certainly one of their strengths, and that's one of the things that you would have seen in the France game, that Sully and Mark had opportunities in the air, 1-on-1 in those contestables. So it was that's certainly something that we're building moving towards and building on. So again, it's a strength of ours, and it's something that we, when the time's right, we want to make sure we give them an opportunity to show what they can do.
And just lastly from there, how's Saru Karevi going? Is he a chance this weekend?
He'll train today, and then I think Eddie will make a decision on it after that. But yeah, we're not sure yet, to be honest with you.
And you and Brett, obviously, I think you would have played together at Origin, is it?
Yeah, we played Origin together and played a lot of games against each other.
Yeah.
I could never get hold of him, but...
Pretty extraordinary, two blokes that come together very last minute. You've ended up in the World Cup. Like, from a rugby league background, is this about as, in terms of the gravitas around coming to the World Cup, how's it fueling the two of you together?
Yeah, no, it's it's just funny how things work out over time. But Brett's been on his own journey with his coaching, and I've obviously been on mine. And we work well together because we had the relationship before I got here, which definitely helps. But it's just and he's going really well at his coaching as well. So it's I enjoy working with him, and Eddie tests us out and helps us improve, and so it's it's been good so far.
Dave? Dave, just broad picture, what's changed for you in 4 years since the last World Cup the Wallabies were at? What were you doing in 2019?
2019 I was over at Irish. Watching the boys go, hoping for an opportunity to get home, and then the next couple of years that unfolded for me. So yeah, it's unreal to be here right now, part of this, and my next step is contributing effectively. You
must pinch yourself though, coming in, having only played a handful of Super Rugby minutes in 2020 when you took up that contract at New South Wales. You have to be proud of how that journey's gone, and to be here, about to play the World Cup was pretty cool.
Yeah, mate, I think you sort of touched on my journey. So when I left initially anyway, I think there's been sort of enough written on it anyway, but it was always a goal to go overseas and develop, to come back home to wear this jersey and play on the biggest stage. And it'll definitely, I guess, when you have sort of the time to reflect on it when all's said and done, I will. But at the moment, it's very much what's the mission and how we're going to pretty much succeed in this World Cup.
How do you assess the mission first up this week? The Georgians are very much an improving rugby nation, and from a set piece point of view, they're probably close to the top of the pops.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. I think a lot of their game is direct, set piece. Love the physical battle. close contact. So for us as a forward packer specifically, we need to be up for the fight. And a lot of detail goes in for the first couple of days of the week into that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to game day, it's essentially the top 2 inches that count. And for us as a pack, we want to impose ourselves, and that's what we'll be looking to do.
During that English stint, did you come across any of the sort of Georgian guys, and what do you make of how they've particularly sort of developed over the past 12 to 18 months, where they're all of a sudden knocking off Wales and Italy?
Yeah, there were a couple of front rowers going around the premiership in my time. I know they were highly sought after, and obviously that coincides with the decent scrum that they've got. But yeah, obviously they're building in confidence as a team. And why wouldn't you? You got a good pack behind you, get your front football, get your clean set piece. So, that's how you disrupt teams. So, we got a job to do this weekend, and we're all excited for it.
Because coming off that game against France, I think you won a couple of scrum penalties, really sort of seemed to be one of the stronger areas of the WALLABIES performance. How much sort of a confidence booster is that to really, know that you can take it to the best in the world and come out not only in parity but with advantage at certain points?
Yeah, it's definitely a confidence booster, but I think what would be better for the pack right now is if we can back it up. Not only scrum, but just, I guess, building up performances consistently to the point where, we get into the final stages here hissing. So I guess first and foremost for us, it's this weekend against Georgia and how we nullify them and how we take it to them. But yeah, I guess we can sort of have a look and see we did well against France in the pack, but we need to do it again.
Dave, I was going to ask, Scotty Johnson was pretty influential in getting you back here from memory.
Yeah.
But how much contact would have you had with Eddie during your years there?
I didn't have contact with him. No contact.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And you're one of the more experienced guys in this team. Probably one of the few over the 30. But
30 club.
What's the vibe been like compared to the start of the TRC and last year, where there is it's a balanced kind of age demographic to now, where so many youngins, including like you're 25 in the first World Cup campaign.
Yeah. Well, you look through the squad and they're young, but a lot of them actually have 30, 40 caps under their belt. So in terms of experience, you could argue that they're more experienced than me. Just because I'm older doesn't mean I'm more experienced. So we got a good group of young fellas. Obviously, we've got a lot of debutants, a lot of first year in, and they're the ones that you keep your eye on to make sure that they fit into the system well, and they have so far. It's high energy, what comes with youth essentially. It's high energy, willingness to work, willingness to get better. That's a massive one in an environment like this, where it's over a long period of time, and I feel like everyone is in that mindset. As you said, there are still a couple of older boys that need to keep their finger on the pulse with certain aspects of the squad throughout this campaign, but I feel like right now it's moving in the right direction.
How have you maintained the positivity in the group? Like I was at the gym session this morning and there seemed to be a real enthusiasm. When teams are not getting results, like you guys are 0-5 this year, sometimes the daily grind can just really get to people, but from very much an outsider's perspective, it doesn't look that way. So how have you managed to maintain that positivity despite
it's a good question, because it doesn't feel like an environment that's 0-5 right now. I guess we all understand the assignment for this year, which was to gel a new group, to continue to build forward and put in a performance long enough to win games, and I genuinely feel like we're moving in the right direction with that. So for me, it doesn't feel like a losing culture or a losing environment. It feels like a winning one. And I guess the last thing to come from that will be the score sheet.
Jason, can I just ask, have you experienced in your time as player and coach where things do change overnight from a result perspective?
Yeah, definitely. It's I remember 2012 we were playing. It was at the Storm. We were 0-5, and it was basically one game. It was a tight game, but it was also just broke that drought, I suppose, of not sort of winning. So because you'll find like the process each week is this very similar. You might change a few of your training days and that type of thing up, but it's it's one of those things that everyone's working hard every day, but then just sometimes it just takes that game to get that confidence back, and then to get a bit more belief in the group, and then before you know it, you turn one into two into three. So, Eddie's very experienced. He's done really well in regards to keeping the environment really positive and making sure the players are still working really hard. But I think the age profile of the group, all the players are hungry and they want to get better and they want to play for the Wallabies. So there's 33 guys there. There's 23 spots every week, and everyone's fighting really hard every single day to get better. So like you say, it's one of those things where it only takes one game. It only takes and often you can even strip it back, and it takes about a couple of moments in a game, and then the confidence and the belief starts to build, and then before you know it, you've turned that corner. So, but again, like Dave said, certainly feel like we're heading in the right direction with it in regards to everyone wanting to get better every day and working really hard at that.
All can take is one game. What do you think is just that missing element right now in Wallabies' performance that can just sort of take it to the next level?
Yeah, I think, you've seen a lot of good stuff, a lot of positives and stuff in our game, but I think just that full 80-minute performance is what we're working on at the moment. We've shown a lot of good in all the games this year so far. We've had a really good first half, and then just that second half we've kind of fallen off, whether that's fitness, whether that's fatigue, mental application. We've got the skill set, we've got the game plan, the coaches, the right players, but I think just that putting it in for the full 80 minutes is where we'll find results falling our way.
Is that a fitness thing? Is that just not sort of applying mentally? What do you sort of put that down to, not being able to really put that 80 minutes together?
No, I think we're definitely fit enough. The way we're training, Eddie's really putting us through our paces. I think our mental application's there, but I think it's just potentially coming out after half-time just a little bit slow. Wouldn't put that down to fitness or anything, but maybe some boys, like we said, we've got a young group. Some boys haven't quite experienced sorry, I've lost the word now. Consolidating, that momentum or shifts in the game straight after half-time. We've versed New Zealand, South Africa, a lot of experience there. They come out, they've really put it on us straight after half-time. And then that's put us on the back foot from the outset. So if we can come out after half-time in these games and really get on the front foot, I think we'll see some good results come our way.
And who would you say out of the coaching staff you're working most closely with, you and Carter, in terms of a very specific role for that team?
Yeah, at the moment, definitely Rylesy. As he said, he's come in, he's helping with the attack with Eddie. He's been really good for myself and Carts. Every day we're sitting down, looking at clips from training, positive or negative. And he's been really good just with the small details, especially around our role as a 10, whether that's skill-wise on the field or communication on and off the field. But yeah, I'd say mostly Rylesy at the moment.
Do you just put an arm around Carter sometimes? Obviously there was the weekend he missed a few kicks, which it wasn't a warm-up game, but he seems like a pretty unflappable guy and rebound okay from that, you think? Yeah, he's fine. As a goal kicker, that's our responsibility to kick goals, and there's no goal kicker in world rugby that has 100% on their score sheets. Boys are going to miss goals, and everyone understands that. And he's an incredible kicker. We've seen against New Zealand, he kicked in that second game 4 from 4, I think it was. And we're practicing extremely hard out here. So boys have those days, and he understands that. He copped it on the chin, and at the end of the day, it's not his fault. We had moments, like Rylesy said, to score more tries and defend better in the game. So but yeah, he's fine. He's training really well, and the boys are around him. You see Mark at training very closely. Talked about his aerial prowess. Give us an insight into what that's like and sort of where he ranks with other players you've played at, and potentially using that as an option when he calls for that ball. I imagine there is a degree of confidence that he can get up there and do something special. Yeah, definitely. I think my personal opinion is probably the best that I've ever played with, if not ever seen in. While I've been playing rugby in the air, him and Sully are definitely up there. But like you said, when those kind of guys call for the ball, you want to get them the ball, whether that's through a pass or through a kick. As we saw in that last game, you put a kick up 9 times out of 10, they're going to get the ball back. Part of our game plan at the moment is to use that smart kicking game to win the ball back or to apply pressure to the other team. So, Marky's been incredible, and those wingers are working extremely hard out here, and if they can keep getting that ball back for us, I don't see why we won't keep doing that.
And Benny, where have you been spending most of your time training-wise?
At the moment, just at 10. Over the TRC, a lot at fullback. But yeah, at the moment, just at 10. But you know, Eddie said to me, be over my roles and knowledge at 10 and 15. It's pretty crucial to be able to cover those two positions. But yeah, at the moment, mainly at 10.
Now, what about a great experience, like not only playing at Sergeant France, but your first investment of quite a while too? Is that a confidence boosting kind of thing, making sure that you've done this, you're across it all, you've experienced it?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, that was my first game since the quarter-final from Super Rugby, so it has been a while, and I guess it's always good to get that first one, you know, in a long time, get a few cobwebs out. But yeah, I think just the atmosphere that was there at that stadium and against France, who had a pretty full-strength team, and I got about 20 minutes. You know, it's definitely a confidence booster. But in saying that, you know, the way we train out here, it's match-like intensity, so I was pretty confident going into that game anyway. But yeah, it definitely is confidence booster moving into the World Cup.
And what was your reaction when Jason got appointed? I imagine you would have watched a fair bit of him play, but like, can you give us an insight into actually how
Too young.
Yeah, probably too young. No, it was it all happened pretty quickly, to be honest. But yeah, just was pretty excited to, obviously knew who he was and heard of him and seen some footage and stuff, but yeah, just really excited to work with him and just to see a different perspective and see something different that he could bring to the group. And from what Eddie told us, you know, he was going to bring a lot, and we've already seen that in the short amount of time he's been here.
As Jason and Dave were saying before, you know, this team might be 0-5, it doesn't feel like that sort of team. Very reminiscent to 21 with Waratahs. Like, as a young player coming through, how does it help having had that experience before and knowing that there is that light at the end of the tunnel and, you know, the performances can turn around pretty quickly?
Yeah, I guess so. Obviously, it's never fun when you're losing, but like Dave said, it doesn't really feel like we're losing at the moment. We've got such a tight-knit group of boys here, tight-knit group of coaches. Everyone's getting on so well, and we know we're working extremely hard and we're doing everything we can to put the performance on the field. And when you say that experience from the TARS season, it probably doesn't, I don't know, I probably haven't taken too much from that. I haven't really thought about that, to be honest, but like Dave said, you know, if we keep working hard, the results will come.
Jason, I was just going to ask, Ben said that Mark's one of the best he's seen in a year, and he would have come up against Izzy Folau, who was probably one of the better ones in the league. What kind of threat really can that do? And secondly, where do you see someone like a Mark in terms of, you know, a comparison with he and Sully can do?
I don't like to make comparisons because everyone's got their own individual attributes and their strengths, but yeah, like he's as good as you'll see in the air. Like it's and like I said earlier, it's certainly one of our strengths and something we look to give as many opportunities to when we can, when the time's right. So, but as far as comparisons, you know, Sully and Mark and those guys, they have their own little, you know, their own little ways of doing things and how they get the ball. And I think Mark's a little bit more active at getting in there and looking for the ball, where Sully will kind of sit and wait. So it's but it's just good to have those guys with those strengths in your team, and to break the game up basically. So and we're just, you know, looking forward to hopefully giving them as many opportunities as we can.
And not every coach has always loved environments under Eddie. You've come back, Neil's come back. What are some of the things that you love and you know, not trying to compare again, but you've experienced what Craig Bellamy's like, Trent Robinson's and so forth. What is it about Eddie that you really like?
What I like is that, like it or not, he challenges you every day, and at the time sometimes you're thinking, well, I wonder why he's done that, but then you look at it a couple of days later and you think, oh, I totally get it now. Like, because again, it's his experience and his will and drive to want to get better every single day. Like, it's a really old cliche at the moment because there's so much stuff out there, but he genuinely lives it, and then he drives it and expects it from his staff and his players, and he has different ways of doing it. So that's what I like, because I know when I work with him, at the end of it, there might be some tough bits through the middle, but at the end of it, I'm going to be a better coach. And that's plain and simple. And I think that's the same with the players as well. You know, when players play under him, often they become better players. So, yeah, that's what I like. So. And
just clarifying, Kells the other day, it might have been load management, but he didn't train from what we saw. Is he all good?
He's good, yeah. So he's had quite a big load the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, that was basically where that's come from. So he's had a few markers with the welfare and that type of thing in regards to his body. So they're basically just managing him over that last little part of the prep into round one of the World Cup against Georgia. So yeah, that's all that's about. So he'll train today.
Have you ever been to a World Cup game, by the way?
I went to the final, 2019.
Oh, right.
So when they made it, I'd done a bit of work with them in the past, and then I texted Eddie sort of a couple of days later and said, any chance of a ticket? So my wife and I went over, and yeah, it was a great 4 days. Yeah, just disappointing the result.